On guys, we have this Lexus RX 300 and we're going to be replacing our fuel injectors. We have a code for one of them. We're just going to replace all of them, new O-rings, everything. I'm just going to give you a couple tips on how to remove your throttle and your plenum. It's pretty tight in there, but it's doable. In the back of the throttle you have this 12mm. Then you have the harness held in here. Just break this fucking clip because you're not gonna get it. Then you have 3 hoses, 1, 2, 3. You have the 2 brackets holding the throttle and the cruise control cables. They're both this one's 13, this one's 12. Now once you disconnect all that plus these 3 vacuum lines, you can pop this off. And then if you stick your hand in through the back here and feel around, and you're gonna feel a wire harness, and it's a 10mm nut holding this ground, I guess. And then you have one of these back here with another bolt holding the plenum. This is the same setup as the Toyota Sienna. On that one, it didn't have this bar, this strut bar here. If you remove it, you'll be able to get the nut. Otherwise, you gotta get it from under here and just baby turns until you get it out. On this side, you remove this vacuum line. Then you got 2 ground wires with a 12mm right here. Remove this vacuum line, and that's everything holding it. As far as removing all this other stuff, same setup as a Toyota Sienna, so you can go back and watch one of my videos. Now I can remove the plenum, and I can pop out my fuel injectors. But the hardest part is that fucking nut holding that bracket in the back, and those 2 nuts holding those little ground cables. This one's a bitch too, the one on the throttle, but if you come at it from the side, you'll be able to get it out. Just remove your airbox and plastic tubes out of the way. You take anything off, just color the hoses, choose any type of paint. I have them all marked up. These 2, you're gonna need like an L key or a socket type. I had already removed this before, so it's not crazy tight. And then the 2 nuts on the side are 14, so just use a 14mm, break those loose, and then it should come out. Alright, here's the last nut, holding it down. Let's see if it comes up. Yep, there it goes. What else is holding it? Well, you got this PCV valve tube right there. Just get the clip off, pop it out. After we remove this PCV valve hose, the part should be loose and ready to come out. There we go. So here's what I'm talking about. You have these 2. I think this is a 10mm and a 12mm. This one holds a harness. This one holds the bracket. And I think this one holds this line right here. I think it's I'm not sure what line that is, but like I said, this bolt and this one are the hardest because they're in the back. Once you get those out. Alright, and now we have access to our injectors, our fuel rails. This would be a perfect time to do your spark plugs. Perfect time to do your PCV valve if you haven't done it. So take advantage if you get this far. I'll be honest, I actually deleted the bracket off of the plenum. So that was just because I knew I'd have to come in here later. So you don't have to do that, but you put everything back, just clean off all these contact areas, make sure they're clean. Good luck with your repair, guys. This is the same as a Toyota. And then to remove the rails, you gotta release the pressure, the fuel pressure. and it's just a 13mm right here, and then two 10mm on each rail. It all pops out. You can see his fuel pressure regulator is fucking cracking. I don't know if we're gonna replace it. We'll see how it goes. Alright guys, so we loosened the bolt on this side of the rail. Let some of the gas off. We're gonna leave this all together. Now, the bolt holding the rail has a crush washer. You see it? It gets stuck on this part, so don't lose it. Now just lift the injectors out. See how they look. Alright, these are your injectors. They all have these O-rings on each side, and then they have these little plastic spacers on top and on the bottom. See, they sit in there. These are trash. We got donor injectors. We're just gonna put new O-rings on them and install them. We checked our front injectors and they were working properly. They all sounded nice and strong when we checked them. The rear ones, though, they sounded, not all three, but we're just gonna replace all three so we don't have to go back in there. Right, replace the O-rings. Just match them up with your set. Alright, did all of them. Remember, there's a little spacer that goes in here before you put the injector in. Putting it all back together. I got my injectors ready. I'm just cleaning off the contact points. Fucker is running down the whole fucking sidewalk, coughing his fucking ass off. The fuck? Going to put in your plenum back. It's easier to screw in the ground wires before you set it in place. Here guys, we got all our vacuum lines back in place. Put the throttle, connect all the lines, connect the vacuum lines, the glove box, the tubes, and we're done. We're at the last part here, putting our throttle back in. So the only thing left to do is to put the plastic tube and the airbox back. The airbox has a sensor on the side held in by a Phillips. This little tube here that goes into this hose from this sensor here on the airbox, it broke, so I'm gonna plastic weld it back together like that. And then with a hot soldering iron or a hot screwdriver, I'm gonna slowly blend the plastic together. And then if you have any empty containers that hold oil or anything like that, that type of plastic will work great. Just cut little pieces and melt them on. Alright, so I'm using a torch, the tip of a razor blade, and I softly just went around the crack, blended the plastic back together. Now I'm going to use some quick steel and just make this a little thicker, and it's going to keep it strong so it don't break. It's going to be kind of like a little ring of the quick steel around it. And that's how we repaired this. And we're all done. Plastic welded it. Put some quick steel. It's not pretty, but it's not meant to be. This shit will hold. Alright, time to install it.